That's me. Sorry, what?
Trustee Calwood,
Present.
Trustee Dorsey, absent. Trustee Liger,
Mr. Nibs, you're on mute.
I don't have any control over that.
Anybody else go ahead? Can you hear us?
I don't know if he's not hearing me. Somebody else try.
He's hearing, but he's trying to use the system in the boardroom, but he's hearing you.
Okay, but he's showing that he's on mute, so.
Is that better?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So is Mr. Nibs in the boardroom?
Yes, he is.
Oh, okay. All right, so could I get a roll call, Mr. Nibs?
Trustee Calwood,
Present.
Trustee Dorsey,
Just join.
Mr. Moses, excuse me, Mr. Dorsey says he's trying to get in, waiting for the host to let him in.
I just let him in.
Okay.
are we hearing each other? Are they hearing me now?
Those are the
Morning.
My laptop is off,
yeah.
so that's no problem. So,
You could continue to answer.
Hmm?
Hear
We're
me?
hearing you, Mr. Nibs.
all right. Trustee Calwood,
Present.
Trustee Dorsey, absent.
Present.
Trustee
Just one.
Present. Trustee Liger,
Yeah.
Trustee McDonald, absent. Ex officio member Richardson,
Good morning, Florine Ordain Hassel, Assistant Director for Division of Personnel, standing in for Director Cindy Richardson.
Trustee Russell,
Present here.
Trustee Smith,
Here.
Chairman Barry,
Present.
6 yes,
Present.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, so we do have a quorum. Mr. Nibs, is this the point where you said you wanted us to reorder the agenda?
Yes, sir. I would like you to reorder the agenda so that we can accommodate Nikita Investment Group to give their presentation on the memorandum on the impact of any activity to our portfolio, and also to give a brief evaluation of the investment portfolio as of August 31, 2022. Both Leo Festino and Sean Borman is on the screen.
So you're asking to reorder to where on the agenda?
Include right after the roll call.
No.
Move number 11, which is investment officer's report, to number 3 on the agenda.
Okay. Any objections from board members?
No objections.
No objections.
Okay, hearing none, so we'll reorder the agenda accordingly. So, are they ready, Mr. Nibs?
Yes, they are on the screen. Leo?
Okay, so you are.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your flexibility to adjust your agenda. We have sent you 2 material items that start on page 34 of your package. First, on page 34, it's a brief document that addresses a question we received from Mr. Neves that came from the chair as to how is the current decline in the stock market over the last couple of weeks affecting GERS portfolio. So that document is a couple of pages in length. It starts on page 34 and is followed by the monthly performance report. So we plan to cover those two and answer any other questions you may have. So starting with the first one on page 34, you will recall at the last board meeting on August 25th that the board approved new targets for asset classes to essentially update the asset allocation of the fund. The new allocation policy targets are shown again on this table on page 34. And if you want us to pull up this content onto the screen, we can. If you have it in front of you, that's fine, and we can point to page numbers. Let us know how you would prefer.
Like you, this is Trustee Dorsey. I'd like you to put it on the screen, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So since we've met with you,
Yes.
the stock market in particular has declined to the tune of about 7% for the period from August 25th through about 2 days ago when we put together this report for you. Since August 25th, we work with State Street Bank, which was also the the partner organization of State Street Global Advisors, the asset manager that you chose to fulfill your allocation through passive approach. So those, the documentation, the contract went to your staff, and those have not yet been finalized. As a result, there's been no activity. There's been no terminations, no sales, and no new purchases. So the more conservative portfolio you still have, and as a result, you were not subject to any decline in the markets. You continue to be subject to moves in interest rates, and the trend of a rise in interest rates has continued. So your bonds have lost some money, meaning the interest rates went up, the price of the bonds went down, which means you experienced some losses, but they were smaller, about half or a bit less than half of what the stock market lost during this time. So from that perspective, that this is, can be framed on a relative positive way, because whenever you're ready to buy, whenever the contracts get executed, if nothing changes, you'll be getting the same exposure, the same assets, the same holdings, if you will, but at a lower price, which tends to imply a better return into the future. So that's basically the gist of this presentation. It describes what happened, which is essentially no actions, but work behind the scenes to the point that at some point in time we will be ready to act. And at that point in time, we will seek to minimize the impact of any sudden move in the markets, as we have discussed, by buying a portion up front and then a gradual purchase of the remainder to get you to your targets over the next couple of months. So that's the plan. Nothing has changed. We still continue to believe it is a very reasonable and prudent approach for you to take in the circumstances that you're experiencing with the expected cash flows and in the current market environment. And as soon as those activities begin to occur, staff and or Mikita can produce reports to inform you of the progress, on a monthly basis or whenever a transaction takes place. So with that, I'll pause and see if you have any questions. We can certainly provide more comment on the markets. Yesterday, for example, the Federal Bank increased rates another time by 75 basis points. So that continues to take place, and there is the expectation that 1 or 2 more rate hikes will take place within the next 2 to 3 months.
Chair, morning. I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So, Makita, let me just ask this question. With the decrease you were saying in the bonds, or any of those going forward, or any of those 5 strategies that never really got the conclusion on will be implemented in the future to assist us?
I'm not sure I follow the question, Trustee Dorsey. Can you repeat?
Yeah, you just said that we had a loss in the market, right? That was
Yeah,
your presentation.
the market lost. Yeah, the equity market lost about 7% in the last, I don't know, 3-4 weeks, and the bond market's about 2 to 3%.
Okay, so going forward, as you mentioned, I guess at the retreat, and since that meeting at the retreat, that you had these strategies that you would be using in the future for our plan. So would any of those 5 strategies that you were mentioning would be used in the future? I was just trying to figure out how that would be applied in the future.
Yes. Thanks for bringing that up. Our intention is to, at the next investment committee meeting at which Makita attends, that you convene us, or that we have a slot in the agenda, to bring our colleagues that are in charge of managing risk mitigation strategies to provide more content and education so that you understand the ramification of those strategies. They're not fail-proof. There's a cost for those strategies. They work under certain situations, so we want to make sure you understand the pros and cons of those potential actions. So our objective would be to meet with you at the next investment committee meeting and address that, yes.
So is there any way those strategies that you're going to be proposing to the trustees at that meeting, that we can have that before, maybe like a week before, so that we could be able to ask questions about it, as opposed to getting it at the meeting and trying to ask questions at that time?
So if I understand correctly, Mr. Dorsey, what you're saying is if you can get the materials in advance, you can review them, be prepared, ask any questions in advance, and then have a meeting that is more in depth?
Yes.
Absolutely.
At least for myself, I can speak for myself.
We can send the materials in advance.
And this is going to include those 5 strategies that we might possibly use in the future. Is that correct?
Yes, it's going to include a combination of strategies. May not be all 5, because maybe not all 5 after our analysis may be the most appropriate for you, but it's going to include at least a handful of those for discussion. And we don't expect this to be an action item, but it's going to be mostly an educational item. I think it is something new for this group, and we want to make sure everyone is on board and understands the ramification of those considerations.
Well, I was only asking for the 5 because up to now you never defined the 5. I just wanted to be able to review it, so if I had questions, even on those maybe 2 or 3 that may not be used, at least I can ask a question for myself. So yes, I wanted to see all 5.
We did send materials in advance as soon as that meeting on the 25th, and another time that we forward information to Mr. Neeb, so that those would be sent to the trustees. So we can resend that, and we will also prepare some, those are more generic materials, white papers, presentations that we put together for our client base at large. But the content that we intend to present to you at the next investment committee meeting, now that those materials will be custom made for GERS. And those will be sent also in advance, at least a week prior to the committee meeting, so you all have plenty of time to review them.
So my last point, you're going to be bringing an individual who specializes in those particular strategies, or would that be yourself?
It's going to be ourselves, the client team, and those individuals. So it's going to be multiple Makita people available to ensure that information is shared with you in the best possible way.
I got you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have
Mr. Chair,
I have 2 questions.
I also have questions. I'll go after you.
Okay, so my first question to you, Makita, is am I reading your memo correctly that the the rebalancing of the portfolio that we approved is still a good strategy?
Yes. So if the question is this still a good, prudent, and sound strategy for GERS? Our answer is yes, it continues to be.
Okay. And the second question is, I don't know whether this is to you or Mr. Nibs. What if any is the holdup in executing the documents to implement the strategy?
On agenda today, the contract.
Oh,
We have submitted everything to Nikita in regards to the SSGAs, all the information that is needed. So however the contract has to be, it's on the agenda for approval today.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's the only holdup.
I mean, Leo has been, going forward and doing what he has to do, but like I said, we have supplied everything that they've requested. So we just need to approve the contract.
Okay.
Chair, I have another question to you.
Question to me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so based on what you were just asking and how Mr. Nibs just answered, that we're waiting to execute this contract today. That was the reason why I asked Makita the question, because Mr. Makita just indicated that the strategies they're going to be looking to do, they haven't technically presented those until his group comes in the next investment committee meeting. So I'm not sure why we would implement something that hasn't even been fully explained.
What implementing is a contract with him to move forward.
Yeah, if I may, it's two different things. The contract right now is with the State Street bonds to implement, essentially, to fund the index funds in essentially stock and bonds, which is a very common way for pension funds to get exposure. GERS has that exposure today in the bond space. It used to have it in the equity space. So it is really nothing new. It is the lowest cost to get broad exposure to the markets globally to essentially provide capital with the expectation of generating return from putting that capital to work. So that is one thing, and that's what was approved. The other topic that you brought, Trustee Dorsey, is the issue of, well, is there a way to protect our capital by getting some kind of insurance premium invested in some type of defensive strategy that may produce a loss or a very small positive return in up markets, but when there is a major correction, potentially produce meaningful gains, offsetting losses elsewhere in the portfolio. So those are very different payoff structures. They're very different, and those are the ones that we intend to discuss with the investment committee at the next meeting. But they're not necessarily related, and one is not predicated on the other.
Okay, so Mr. Nibs, so when you say the item is on the agenda, you're talking about the approval of the Makita Investment Group contract?
Yes.
We under. Okay. So I'm a little bit confused. My understanding of the conversation was that the holdup was with the changeover to the managers, the investment managers. Am I confused in this?
We have supplied Nikita with everything that they've requested after the investment committee meeting.
Okay. All right.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Sean, is there any update you can provide from your perspective with respect to the execution of the contracts with State Street Global Advisors and the timing for funding? Do you have any updates that you can share with this group?
Yeah, so as Mr. Nibbs stated, we requested some information on behalf of SSGA a couple weeks ago. Mr. Nibbs and his staff provided that to SSGA. And then a few days ago, SSGA supplied the contract and documents for GERS to sign. Those are with Mr. Nibbs's staff and have to be reviewed by legal and executed.
Okay.
You sent it to Sean? I didn't see it. Where did you send it to?
Let me look. Hold on one second. It was sent on September 15th to yourself, Mr. Henderson, and Ms. Colley. I can re-forward it to you now.
Okay, maybe I forwarded to Henderson to give me some feedback, but I'll check it out. Okay?
Okay.
Maybe
All right. I guess the moral of the story is that we need to get those executed so that we could have our policy and our strategy in place for our own protection. So, is there anything else on this issue? Anything else for Makita?
I got some questions.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I got some questions.
Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. The two things you mentioned that tells me I need to ask this question because I'm not sure I understand. You mentioned the Fed's increasing the interest rate. And tell me how an increase in the interest rates by the Feds affects our current portfolios. And then with this new plan that we have, how would an interest rate by the Feds impact our new plan? Could you explain that to me? Because I hear this Feds increasing the interest rate all over the news and everything, but I want to understand how it affects our portfolio, okay? And then going forward, how it will affect our portfolio.
Yes, I will try my best. So the Fed raised the interest rates, and they've been doing that now for quite a bit of time during this year. And so the latest one was yesterday on the 21st, and it raised rates by 75 basis points, or 0.75%.
Right.
The interest rate today is between, on the target that they can manage, which is on the short end of the curve, is between 3 and 3.25. So each time that happens, all fixed income rates, all bond products essentially go up. And when the interest rate goes up, that means those bonds are worth less than they used to, because a new bond would be issued at a higher rate. And so the existing bond that pay a fixed rate has to go down in price to offset and essentially provide an equivalent yield, which is the distribution over divided by its price. So all that basically says, if you hold the portfolio of bonds and interest rates increase, the price of your bond portfolio is going to go down, which means you're going to experience a loss, at least temporarily, because eventually those bonds need to come back to par. So what that means is that in today's portfolio, this is the major variable that affects the performance of GERS. In the new portfolio, the lion's share of the driver of performance is going to be the economic cycle, because you're going to have equities. Equities have much greater volatility or variability in returns, and it's more driven by the economic cycle. Now, at times, changes in interest rate can play an effect into the economy. Right now, one of the key drivers for the increase in interest rates is the inflation that for the last year or so has come in much higher than anticipated and some of the highest readings over the 4 decades. In retrospect, one can argue the Fed should have started this, sometime earlier than it did it actually, and that the quantitative easing that we had for quite a few years should have stopped earlier. So right now we're in the opposite. Liquidity is being taken off the market. There is tightening of financial conditions, and that is a primary goal is again to try to decrease this inflation rate. Now, the Fed, inflation is always an issue between demand and supply. The Fed cannot really control the supply because the supply is outside of the Fed's control, and in many cases outside of the control of anyone. So things like the Russia and Ukraine war, COVID shutdowns, which affects supply chain issues, for example, in China, labor shortages, people stopping working for a variety of reasons, mainly related to COVID. All of those affect the supply side. So the only thing the Fed can control now is the demand, and they can do that via movement in the interest rate pricing. So that is what's primarily happening today, and I guess the expectation is that this trend will continue for at least the next few months. The issue is, what will this lead to? More likely than not, when this happens, eventually it's going to begin to impact labor, meaning unemployment may go up. It may also impact the economy, which may, right now is very resilient, but it may put the economy eventually into slowdown or into a recession. And I guess the key question that investors are pondering is how severe this might turn to be. Is it going to be pretty mild, or is it going to be more like, maybe in 2001, or is it going to be much more challenging as it was maybe between 1980 and 1982? So that's maybe a little bit more than you asked, but I tried to give you a fuller perspective.
No, you did a good job. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Chief. That's my question.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so I think we need to move on with the agenda. We're 30 minutes into the meeting. I haven't scratched it.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Can I give an update? Can I give an update to the documents that Sean had spoken about? Yes, he did send them to us.
You got 2 minutes. One.
Okay, that's it. That's no problem.
No, go ahead.
I'll speak with him offline.
Okay. All right. So I guess we could excuse Makita now, and we move on to the rest of the agenda. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll continue with the agenda. Comments and suggestions from retirees. Hearing none. Comments and suggestions from active members. Hearing none. We move on to the Secretary's minutes, Mr. Nibs. So I guess we need a motion to accept those minutes. The minutes of the August 25th board meeting.
Mr. Chair, I found there's a few typos.
Okay.
On page 10. I'm looking at it wrong. On page 10, okay, page 10 analysis. You have Virgin Islands Finance Housing Authority. I believe that it should be Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority. Under the casino control.
Where it says Finance House.
Yeah, it should be Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Go down a few lines under the Casino Control Commission. Exercise additional option for another year, I believe, until the
until the beginning.
That's correct?
Yes.
What's the change?
If you read that sentence,
What's the
Should be,
it's somewhere until
until the should be there.
that should be stricken.
Beginning.
So it should read additional option for another year beginning October 5th.
Right.
October 5, 2022.
Okay.
Okay, and then on page 11, to the bottom, second to last line, that sentence, the last sentence should start as part of the plan. So I believe the people
Part,
sentence.
instead of part. Okay.
Outside of that, that's it.
I would also add,
wait.
you wanted,
There's one more. Page 13. The Board of Trustees has agreed to table the nomination and selection of the Vice Chairman until, I don't know, it's just kind of read funny without.
You're breaking up, at least on my side. I'm not sure if it's just me.
Page 13, under A, item I. The
Yeah.
sentence that begins with the Board of Trustees. I believe the word until should be placed after Vice Chairman. So it should read Vice Chairman until during the selection of the chairperson.
Okay. Everybody got that? Any other corrections? You had something, Mr. Tony Williams?
yes, the date, the document reflects that it's the minute of August 25th, 2002. That should be
Oh,
2022. 202, yeah, it's all the document.
In the header.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so with those corrections, there's a motion to accept the minutes or to approve the minutes?
So Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of the August 25th, 2022 regular board meeting as amended or as corrected. I so move.
Second.
Okay, here, second.
Second by Dorsey.
Okay,
Trustee Colwood,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger,
Yeah.
Trustee McDonald absent, Trustee Russell,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
yes.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Okay. Next item, communication and correspondences.
On September 1, 2022, received a release of $3.4 million to satisfy Act numbers 8578, which was sponsored by Senator Fred Gregory to pay additional bonuses for years 2018, 2019, and 2020. These bonuses are received by GERS, these funds from the VI lottery every year. Initially, the amount under Act number 8473 was for $2.2 million. I remembered when it started for the first 2 years, they were giving us the full amount and then they dropped off. So each year since the first 2 years, they have been decreasing the amount. So what the senator did was appropriated fiscal year 2023 $3.4 million to give additional bonuses to retirees who are 60 years, who at the time of in 2018, 2019, 2020 was 60 years of age and had been on the payroll for at least 1 year. So we have received the funds, and we are presently trying to wrap up the files. We did have some problems, and we are looking at those problems so we can at least try to get these bonuses processed by the end of September. Also, as you may know, for those retirees who did receive the bonus in those years and are now deceased, we would have to go back and check their files and determine who the beneficiaries are, and we would have to pay out the beneficiaries. That's the only piece of correspondence that we have. I know that the senator is doing the same thing for years 2021 and 2022. I think the bill was just passed in committee in the bill number 34-0333. That was just passed yesterday. So she's appropriating additional monies, which we know we would receive when the governor signs the bill into law. That ends my communication and correspondences.
Okay, so the next item is the chairperson's report. I don't have a full report. Just like to note that I have been assured by the PFA that the GRS will receive full $158 million from the funding note on October 1. You may or may not be aware that the matching fund cover over received from the Treasury was $226 million based on a $10.50 per proof gallon rate, when the funding note assumes closer to $277 million based on the $13.25 per proof gallon rate. So that created a shortfall. The first claim to the receipts, to the money, is to pay GRS, and that's $158 million, and to pay the rum companies, which is $103 million. Add those two together, that's $261 million, which is more than the $226 million that was received. So there's a shortfall. So I was concerned that GRS, the $158 million will be reduced. I've been assured that we will get the full $158 million. The PFA will make up the difference from PFA funds. So that's good news. Not so good news is that it appears that the funding that we requested from the Finance Committee when they were marking up the budget, additional contributions to GRS, apparently did not make it through. And you may or may not be aware that at the Finance Committee meeting, when we were discussing the budget, the GRS requested two items of funding. One was to move the pending increase in employer contribution from the current 20.3% to 23.5%. Did I get my percentage right, Mr. Nibbs?
23.5 to 26.5.
6.5, so a 3 percentage point increase. That's currently scheduled to go into effect in 2025.
Correct.
And we were asking the finance committee to move that forward to 2023 so that we start getting that additional earlier. We also requested of them that they fund the approximately $50 million worth of administrative expense. There was a point in time when the legislature funded the GRS administrative expense from the general fund, and that was discontinued a couple of years back, and we were asking for that to be reinstituted. And that apparently didn't make it forward either. So just want to advise of that. That's basically what I have to report.
The point of information, Chair. What was the last part you said didn't make it?
We at our presentation to the Finance Committee, we had asked that the legislature appropriate funding. I think we asked for $15 million to fund the administrative expense, the annual administrative expense of the system. That's the $15 million should sound familiar because we're going to be talking about that a little bit in the budget. Apparently, there was a point in time when the legislature funded the administrative expense from the general fund. That was discontinued. I don't recall the dates. I don't know if Mr. Nibbs recall the dates, but that practice was discontinued. What we asked of the legislature was to reinstitute the practice and appropriate $15 million from the general fund to pay for the administrative expense of the system. The pitch we're making is that sort of make up for the shortfall. As we know, the contributions from the funding note is going to drop off after a couple of years and pick back up later on. And we're trying to fill that gap. So that was the argument we made before them. But apparently that didn't make it through either.
So, Chair, we made a request to the Senate through the administrator, and it didn't go through for the 3% increase of the government portion, and now the administrative cost of the system that used to be covered years ago based on the code. So should we now go to the plan sponsor to make the request at this point? That would seem to be the logical, at least where I said to go. At least ask the plan sponsor, because the plan sponsor has indicated there is a surplus of money that was put aside during this time. And that surplus is more than, my understanding, that surplus is more than the 15 million. At least the administrative costs we could probably cover, which would probably open the door for us to be able to start the loan program.
I'm assuming by plan sponsor you're talking about going to the government, the executive branch.
That is the plan sponsor.
The plan sponsor is the government of the president, which is government and legislature. And the legislature is the only entity that appropriates money. The governor can't appropriate funds. Only legislature can appropriate funds.
I agree. I'm only saying the same way the governor would send down bills to be voted up or down. His influence at this time, I think, would give us a little edge at this time where we sit. But I think it's a meeting of minds we probably should have with the administration, with the plan sponsor. I don't think we should give up because the Senate decided to say no when the governor is saying he has a surplus.
Okay, I mean, the rest of you could weigh in if you want. I mean, eventually it goes back to legislature. Whether it comes from me or it comes from the governor, it goes back to legislature. And they are aware of this, when they're putting together the budget, they're fully aware of the revenues, and they're fully aware of any surplus that's available. and I decided not to do it. So,
Well, I wasn't trying to say that what you, or the, I guess we recommended it at some point, that's not, that wasn't good coming from the board or coming through the chair to the administrator. I was saying that the governor has certain influences that obviously we do not have. He just showed it by his other board chairs, paying the difference in the bond funding, the shortfalls of the bond funding, of the cover over. So I'm just saying that I think we should open it up. We should at least ask the question and let him tell us no if it can't work. But he just said he has a surplus. He's been telling the community there is a surplus. Miss O'Neill from ONB indicated there is a surplus. That surplus more than exceeds on the administrative side of the cost.
any other thoughts?
I suppose going back to the governor and asking him to consider legislation since this budget is being approved, because clearly the calculations with the 1050 fall short. So although the PFA is agreeing to make up the difference, it is still a taxing on the overall finances of the territory. So we should go back to the legislature, I believe. I just asked the governor to do it.
I'm not sure I'm following that. It seemed to me that
well, we get the governor to ask the legislature to appropriate $15 million first. Yeah, the governor could do it. He could ask. He could say that, you know, we receive a shortfall from the cover over, and that's, you know, that's something appropriate. We receive a shortfall, and we need $15 million to do our operating expenses. So the governor, if we could ask him to do it, it's simple.
I mean, you're confusing me. I don't know. I'm not sure I understand. The $15 million has nothing to do with the $158 million.
No, but the $158 million has to do with the overall budget and the money the territory gives to the GERS system.
Yeah.
So we go back to the as he said, plan sponsor, and ask the governor to ask the legislature for $15 million, since we receive a shortfall from the cover over. Justify it. I mean, I follow that.
I just said that we won't receive a shortfall. You're talking about the 158?
Yeah, okay. Currently, the territory going to receive a shortfall. Regardless of how the numbers come out, the 1050 gave us less money from the cover over than the 1325. That has to be made up somehow. Now, whether the delegate could do it, but I think, as Dorsey said, with a surplus, we asked for the $15 million from the governor. And he might find a way to give us the 15, or he could ask the legislature, but we put it in his lap. That's what I'm saying. Put it in his lap to make up that $15 million that was removed from the general budget when, you know, there wasn't enough money to include it. So, you know, I just weigh in on what Dorsey said because I think it's a good idea.
Any other thoughts? Okay. And the board was having thoughts about that idea.
Chairman Bori, let me just ask you again. Do we lose anything by making a request, something that's already in the code that we tried to do through our means that didn't work? And I'm referring to the administrative portion of the plan and asking the plan sponsor to just be able to look for that money, especially saying that there's a surplus. That's the thing. It's one thing if you say you don't have the money, but you're saying you have the money, and it was said during the same finance committee for OMB through that budget director that there's definitely a surplus. So I'm not sure why we wouldn't all be on board with that. I'm not getting this point of it, and this is beyond the shortfall of just the bonding alone. I'm just trying, we can isolate the administrative costs of the plan going forward at this point. We can just put that off the table. That's one less thing that the board of trustees would have to worry about each year. And that would even include moving forward with any daily expenses of the system itself. That would just be covered through that appropriation.
What is the question to me, Mr. Dawson?
That we go to the plan sponsor and ask for the 15 million, even outside, because we made the request already officially through Mr. Nibbs at the budget process, during the budget process. It didn't go through, as you indicated today. So now we do have another option, which is the plan sponsor. And he did indicate, the plan sponsor did indicate that we have a surplus. So I'm not sure why we wouldn't go down that road. We have nothing to lose. The most the governor can say is no, or he can say yes. I feel he would say yes, because most of the things he has been doing, they have been successful. And this is part of his overall plan indirectly, because he alone would like to see, well, along with some senators, would like to see this loan program come. So every little bit that we can take away from the daily operation that we don't have to rely on, it opens up other monies that at some point we wouldn't even have to worry about tapping into internal funding.
Mr. Dorsey, I've asked the other board members for input. I'm not hearing any.
I hear you loud and clear, but you as a chair know we have that option. You were a former OMB director. So you know that is an option, and I just indicated to you that the current sitting OMB director says we have at least a $20+ million surplus.
You're saying the same thing over and over again, Mr. Dawson. You said that about 5 times already in the last 3 minutes.
Right, but I was waiting for you alone to indicate as the chair that that's a good idea. That's something we need to look at.
I've already indicated I don't think that will work. The source of financing is the legislature. We went to the source. We went directly to the source of fund. Only legislature, all the governor is going to do is ask. So but that's my perspective as a former budget director. That's that.
The sitting budget director says they have a $20 million plus. We're looking for 15 million. That would leave them roughly 5 million in their surplus, right? So I'm saying again, the governor could say, I want to reappropriate 15 million of that 20 million, which he didn't do before. So he can do that now, but we need to at least give him the option. Hopefully somebody from Government House is listening in on this meeting, really.
Okay, all right. Any other thoughts from any other board member on that issue? Okay.
Well, I'd like to make a motion at this time, Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my motion is that we make a request to the plan sponsor to cover the administrative costs of this plan that we presented during the budget process. So moved.
You have a motion?
Second.
Move and seconded, roll call.
Calvert?
No.
No. Trustee Dorsey?
Yes.
Trustee Liger?
Since the chair said he didn't think it's going to go through, my vote is no.
Trustee McDonald? Absent. Trustee Russell?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
No.
No. Chairman Barry?
No.
2 yes, 4 no, 1 absent.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is administrator's report.
Okay, good morning. Just to mention some items of my appearance of meetings. On the 24th of August, I met with the appraiser, McCluskey, to discuss recurring appraisals and also the appraisal of the Havenside Mall. The 30th, I met with Best Taxi. On the September 5th through the 8th, I attended Value Edge Advisors 2023 Public Pension Forum. On the 15th of September, the internal meeting with the retro and annuity adjustment team. On the 16th, I had a meeting with the Havenside Mall Oversight Committee. On the 19th, I met with NCPERS, which is the National Conference on Public Employees Retirement System, Executive Director Hank Kim, in regards to the GAO study based on the request made by Stacy Plastic, Chair of the House Committee on Natural Resources.
Could I interrupt you, Mr. Nibbs, at this point? What's your understanding of where that is and what's going to come out of that?
GAO study has not been completed. NCPOS, which is a national, group that membership in all countries, U.S., Canada, and all countries, they are asked to give their opinion on it. They did meet with Kathy and myself, and they're basically the same things that the GAO asked us. They were inquiring as to the status of the GRS. We gave them some information, public documents. I don't know what is going to be the outcome. I think I guess the delegate wants to see if she can maybe have Congress pay more attention to the GRS in regards to maybe funding. But I know that Congress is not going to really look at the GRS because, number one, GRS does not contribute, don't have really any voting members in Congress and the Senate. And number one, we have states that have the same problems like the GRS pension system. And therefore, ordinarily, in order to shore up a pension system, the states have taxing authority. Usually the Congress would maybe finance ERISA type pension plans.
No, I'm more interested
not public pension plans.
I'm interested in the GAO study itself. I mean, what do you understand purpose for that?
It did several years ago. I do not know, sir. We met with them. They asked to meet with us. They are conducting the study. They are including individuals like the executive director, NCPERS, who would have a voice. And I think he would say the same thing because we met with him when we went to Washington, D.C. About 4 or 5 years ago in regards to probably, and also with a delegate, in regards to getting funding for the GRS. And he told us plain blank that he could not support it because, the same thing I just told you. The Congress don't usually fund public pension systems. know, the states and the territory have taxing authority to do that. I think that is the gist of, I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but
Okay.
Okay. What's the name? What's the name of the agency you met with that to get support? I missed that.
NC person.
And what?
They have,
okay.
They have always worked with.
Okay.
Yeah, they have always worked with us during in the last election campaign, the one before this one. We had them come down. We had a forum with them. They were here. We had a forum at Carambola, and all the the aspirants and the gubernatorial candidates came, and we were talking about the pension problems. But they have always been supportive of us. So I'm just going to tell you that they're not going to support any funding for the GRS for Congress because they already told us that.
Okay.
Okay. As far as applications, we have an outstanding 182 applications. As you can see from the screen, in 2022, we received 213 applications and we have processed 63. There's 150 applications remaining. In 2021, of the 343 received in 2021, there are 23 remaining. So main reasons why, obviously, is probably employee contributions are due. Or maybe we have sent in requests for employer contributions from the semi-autonomous agencies, or maybe last NOPA has not been received. Life certificate of the 263 letters that were mailed out, total of 259 were returned. So there are about 4 left, and those members' benefits will be suspended if we do not receive the life certificates. Same issue with the disability. There are 4 pending cases in regards to internal legal. Refunds so far from October 2021 to August 2022, we have processed $8.1 million. Of that $8.1 million, regular, which is non-vested members, counted for $6.9 million. Debt benefits, we have completed 41 so far for the year. They're pending 47. Paid out $1.7 million. Annuity payments, the September 15th payroll, there were 8,733 members that were paid. 8,733 members that were paid. Total amount from October 15, 2021 to September 15, 2022, we have paid out $250.6 million. We have added to the payroll for that same period 363 members, and we have deleted from the payroll from October last year to September 15, 310 members. The gross retiree payroll for the 9/15 payroll was $10.11 million, $10.9 million. Loan portfolio, as of August 31, 2022, there are 1,363 units left. Of that 1,362 units, 1,283 are personal loans, and the balance of 76 are mortgages. The balance in the portfolio as of August 31, 2022 is $14.9 million. There were about overpayments. We had to refund some payments for members who overpaid, $16 million in the month of August. And this is the maturity schedule. As you know, the loan program, as far as personal loans, will probably end sometime in 2025. Through December 2022, we would 526 would have expired, and about 294 will be expiring in 2023. Kathy just brought to my attention, I said refund of overpayment 16 million, I'm sorry, 16,000. That's a big difference. We don't have 16 million to give out. There are no major issues with the St. Croix complex. Just want to mention that the emergency generator is working. We did have some power interruption in both districts. No generators were functioning properly. In St. Thomas, the hip roof, currently, if you've been to the complex, you see that we have a lot of construction going on. And completion date is hopefully by the end of September, subject to weather. There was a problem last week, obviously, because of the rain. Air condition project, we want to complete that by the beginning of October. The generator is fully functional, thank God. Quotes for a new generator were received. One was selected and approved, and we will get that generator in here by January 2023. Inside Mall, the demolition, as I said last month, is going to start in October.
Also, give me a call about the deal and what we're doing, please. Thank you.
Trustee Watson, Trustee Watson, you need to mute your mic.
Demolition is going to start in October. We plan to meet with WICO tomorrow, meeting with them. We'll let them know the schedule. The hotel development, the lease was signed between GRS and Haven Development LLC. We are waiting some information from the geotechnical engineers, and we have received WICO, the plans from WICO that were required by the engineers. The White House Annex is now occupied, and we have moved maintenance supplies in that area. As far as the White House itself, building, we drafted an MOU. We want a partnership with St. Thomas Historic Trust for occupancy as a museum. And the MOU was drafted and was sent to their legal team. Same thing with the bronze statue of the Coal Women on the green space. MOU was drafted and sent to the parties. And we're presently sourcing a generator with minimal lead time.
Could I interrupt, Mr. Nez? Where's the bronze statue supposed to go?
Where is the bronze statue to go?
It's going to be on the green space.
Oh, okay.
As far as our rental and electricity collections, significant improvement in the arrearages. For August, we collected $285,115.67. Total fiscal year to date, collected $1.4 billion. Arrearages through August 31, 2022, $18,133.39. As far as leases, the DOP lease is still at Government House for signature. We followed up on the status on 9/16. Department of Justice, a final letter was sent by me to negotiate and finalize the lease. Sent to the Attorney General on September 16. We are waiting response. We want to finalize that lease by the end of September. The Virgin Islands Police Department, VPD, is interested in 2 rental spaces, and we'll send the property and procurement inspectors to make the assessment of the area. These spaces are downstairs where the VI Housing Finance Authority was. As you know, they ended the lease. Police Department is interested in that. Also, we found some space on the 2nd floor that we can also rent to them and move some of those employees upstairs on the 3rd floor. So we're trying to see if we can maximize as much to get some more rental into this building. Casino control.
You think it's wise to push rental to government agencies? They're famous for not paying.
That question was asked before. But nobody taking the private sector isn't taking it, so we don't want to make it idle. The monies are appropriated. It's just a matter of timing when the funds come in. Right now, we have no arrearages on government entities, government tenants. Our arrearage right now is on the private sector. $18,000.
How do we advertise for that space? How do we
They
make, how do,
They approached us. The thing is
yeah,
that
I understand that. My question is, you know, when you talk about the private sector, you said that nobody in the private sector is interested. So my question to you is, have we reached out? How do we reach out?
years ago we did. Years ago we did advertised. I guess
Years
they
ago,
heard.
years ago, this wasn't available.
Well, I'm responding to you, sir. Let me complete. I said years ago we reached out. Okay, and we didn't get any responses from them. The person that occupied that place was the bank, First Bank. They had occupied the lobby, the downstairs, and also on the second floor, and we didn't get any responses. So we didn't reach out this time because maybe through the grapevine, maybe with property procurement, told them something, and they came and approached us. And I think these DPs are going, they maybe getting federal funds. So I think instead of letting the place be idle, we just take a chance. Did the same thing with VI Housing Finance Authority, and it was successful.
Yeah, okay. And the difference is the Housing Finance Authority is a semi-autonomous agency. They usually pay better than the central government agencies.
They get the same federal funds.
Well, so am I hearing that you're saying leave it idle?
You're trying to be funny now, Mr. Mills. There's nothing in my contract.
Well, are you recommending then that we send out an advertisement to the, what?
We need to rent the space. I mean, if you have other vacant properties, then you can put it back out, you can put it out. But right now, I don't see a problem with the police department occupying the space once they have the funds to pay.
Okay, that, as you can see on Exhibit A, the arrearages from the central government have been paid up, and the arrearage right now is in St. Croix from Pleasant Company, $17,963.44. And we're gonna be. This have never happened with them really recently. The last time I know they had arrearages was after the storm in 2017. So usually they're a very good tenant as far as payments are concerned. I'd like to mention before I conclude, I'd like to make mention of accomplishment of one of our employees. On August 30th, Cathy Smith, the General Counsel, was elected as chairman of the International Pension and Employee Benefits Law Association. This is an international group. She's the first person of color to be elected to this position. And she has been a member of this group since 2010. There are about 30 countries that are represented in this association, and it boasts about 250 members from places like Argentina, Austria, Belgium, Bermuda, Brazil, Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, Hong Kong, Ireland, Israel, Italy, Jamaica, Japan, Kenya, Namibia, New Zealand, Portugal, Sweden, Switzerland, United Kingdom, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. The mission of the association, which is the International Pension and Employee Benefits Law Association, is to promote knowledge, discussion, and development of pensions and benefit law among its members more widely by providing educational tools and resources and establishing networking opportunities that bring together international pension and benefit lawyers working in academia, institutional, private practice, and corporate setting. Cathy attended the Public Pension Forum with me earlier this month in California, and I'm going to tell you, this, what she has achieved is very important, because a lot of members I met at the pension forum, and they were congratulating her. She's the first person of color to be elected to that position. So I think we should be proud of Attorney Smith and wish her well. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my remarks.
Congratulations, Attorney Smith. Well deserved.
Attorney Smith, it was a good day when I first signed that contract with you. Congratulations.
It was a good day for me too.
Okay, right.
It was a good day for me too, Mr. Liga. I've really enjoyed my time at GRS. This has been my best employer.
Okay, congratulations.
Congratulations, Attorney Smith.
Yeah.
Trustee Dorsey.
I had some questions for Mr. Nibs.
I also had some questions, Chair, so I'll go after Trustee Russell.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Trustee Russell.
Oh yeah, Mr. Nibs, regarding the generator that was bought, give me a little more information about that, because I don't participate in the meetings, and I will start participating, but does that generator power the whole complex, or is
Yes,
it specific? And what kind of generator? Is it a hybrid where you could use different types of fuel?
No, it's diesel. I'll let Ms. Glenningham respond.
Yeah.
Good morning, Trustee. It's a 500 kW Cummins generator. It was sourced and available in January. As you know, generators are hard to come by. Lead times could go from 50 to 62 weeks. We're lucky to get this one under manufacturer warranty, brand new, coming to us in January. It's going to power the GRS main building and leave space for expansion. Our current generator, the capacity is much too big for the energy being used here. It's a 900 kW. So that's going to be kind of our backup. It has a shelf life of like 2 to 3 years left. So being proactive.
Oh, okay. So when you said the main building, that's not Haven site?
No, not at this time.
Okay. So the main building. The next question, when you say you have a backup generator, is that still valuable? Could it be used in another area that the GRS might want to have a generator?
Right. The shelf life of the old generator is about 2 to 3 years. The technology is older. It's kind of huge and cumbersome. So it's going to serve as the backup here. We've experienced in the past when that generator was down, our IT, AC, payroll, some of those critical areas needed the power generation. So we thought this a good plan, strategy going forward until it dies.
Okay, so it has warranty. How much it costs and who's going to install it, this new generator?
The new generator, I'm going off of, it's less than 170,000 thereabouts, and we put it out for solicitation, invitations for bids. We got 3, and import supply was selected. So the generator was ordered, and they will install and service.
Oh, okay.
They are the authorized dealer in the Virgin Islands for that.
Okay, good. Okay. Mr. Nibs, back to Mr. Nibs. Just one more question.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Nibs, when you say there were significant increases in rent and you were discussing the police department, what rent increases were they monies owed, or that a new rent was instituted for some of these leases. I'm not sure I understood how we get a rent increase.
I did not say that, Senator Russell. I didn't say anything about increases in rent. I probably said there were decreases in the arrearages, the rent arrearages.
Oh, okay, okay.
From
okay, I walked away and I sort of missed what was the so they paying their arrearages and they're decreasing. Okay.
The arrearages from this, the arrearages from the central government are wiped out. We have arrearages in the private sector now, and in St. Croix. And I don't think we should have a problem with that because they are usually on time, their payments.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You can clarify that. Yeah.
Yeah, Chair, I had a question as well, a few. Mr. Nibs. I wanted to ask, the first one goes back to those meetings you had on your schedule in your report. So I want to go right to the meeting with the appraiser. That was all physical properties that were appraised? The appraisals were completed on?
When you said physical properties, I'm assuming that there are two pieces of raw land, one in St. Croix, one in St. Thomas. The buildings here are not up for appraisal at this time. So it was two pieces of property, St. Thomas, St. Croix, and the Haven Site Mall. Appraisals are done every 2 years.
Okay, so was the appraisals completed?
So we just started. They haven't.
Okay.
Requesting information, and hopefully they will complete maybe by November, December. Hopefully.
Okay, and then for Warehouse J, which is going to be torn down, is the cost on that from the bid? Has the cost changed? Has there been any change orders on that?
No, we haven't started yet. That's a FEMA project. Miss Glendinning Gums can respond, but that's a FEMA project. We haven't started yet.
No, I was trying to figure out if we were still within the scope of the cost, and if there's any hiccups that might have come up, that there might be a change in that cost.
I don't think so.
Dorsey, actually, yes, the original cost was a little bit more than a year ago. We did the RFPs and selected the vendor. And as you know, kind of with diesel and the national supply chain, everything is kind of going up a little bit. So we did write the contract with that in mind for approximately about $55,000 more, just to give some consideration with the architect consultation in the contract. Adding that percentage still was lower than the other bids that came in, but we did just a contract for that amount, taking into consideration any inflation that we would be faced with, to the tune of what I said. Thank you.
Okay, you answered that. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Nibs, I just had another couple of questions. The section where it talks about regular employees and the refunding of those regular employees who are not vested. Do you feel like we need to look at that as trustees to close that gap? Because we're talking about millions of dollars we're reimbursing to those regular employees overall.
When you say take a look at it, I don't know what you mean.
Well, what I mean by close the gap, instead of doing the 9-year window or the 10 or up to the 10-year window, they become vested. If maybe we should just look at bringing it right to the probationary period going forward. And members will decide if they want to be with us or not. And maybe we can put some laws on the book to address that 10 years to just whatever the agency, whether the central government or semi-autonomous, it'd be based on your probationary period that you're going to stay or not stay. So that if we do have to do the refund, a much lower number.
I can't promise you anything like that. I think the last time you spoke about this, you mentioned reducing it to 5 years. And my response to you was, at the time we were pending insolvency, I told you that maybe those new employees that didn't reach the 5-year mark would have asked for a refund. So I think we still have some issues, especially millenniums. Millenniums don't stay in a job too long.
Nope.
Trust me, 2 years, so they're gone.
Yep.
So we're gonna continuously have this issue, I think, with regular employees. And what they're doing now is they come in for 2 years, they take their money out, they may go to the States for a while, then they come back new again. So they come back as a new hire and they don't put their money back in. So they're starting over. So we have seen the trend, but I don't think we have any ability to stop that.
That's why I mentioned, Mr. Niv, we're not even talking about 5 years now, and we're talking about that population, but I'm talking about just probationary period, which can be anywhere from, I guess, depending on the job, anywhere from the 6 months to 3 months, 6 months, a year. It's just a lot less money if we have to refund as a system. And then some people would leave the system, and I don't want to call any names. Some people would leave the system, like you just said. They worked 9.5 years, leave the system, then whatever that window is, they'll come back and work and start it all over again. So we have that open window. I was just suggesting to close the gap. If we just put it to the probationary period, it would be a huge savings for the system going forward. That's all I'm going to say about that. You just have to think about it.
You're not going to have any senators supporting that, sir.
Well, we won't know. We won't know until we put it out there, Mr. Nibbs.
Well, and I would recommend that this should be something that can be brought up in the policy committee. And
okay, good.
As you know, that would be my response to you.
Okay. The other item I had was the overpayment. The overpayment it's in that same section. So the overpayment is for the loan program in general, all the different categories?
Yes, those are for the personal loans. What happened is that they paid more than they should have. The finance did not stop it or something like that, and so we have to refund them the monies.
Okay, and then when you say you delete a certain number of retirees, does that mean they're no longer with us? When you say that? Is that a polite way of saying it?
Well, I think it's
so if you got like 300 people that you deleted, that means they're no longer with us?
In my report, I've always said deceased, but I didn't say this time. Those are members that
Okay. And then so I was reading that lease note you had for Justice Department and looking at what you said the last time. So the letter you have for the Department of Justice is for the justice or property and procurement. It seems like up to now, they keep talking about, I think in the last report or the report before the last, they were talking about the square footage cost. So now they're beyond that because they have paid up. So obviously they want to go forward. So what we're saying is a hold up again for their lease, as well as the personnel.
They were not in agreement with our cost per square foot. And we told them that this is what is required. It includes camp charges and everything, and we laid it out for them. And we told them that there's no room for negotiations because they're probably paying the same thing personnel is paying. And they hadn't have an increase in years. So we told them that we need to have a negotiated lease by the end of the month. They have to agree.
Okay, so what happens, Mr. Nibbs, if they do not apply the end of the month? Where are we at with them?
Notice to quit.
Okay. And then the internal meeting you talked about for retro annuity adjustments. Can you get into that a little bit? I didn't see any documents on it. That was on the 15th.
That was the issue that was brought up in the meeting last time by Ms. Moyer and I think Deborah Christopher in regards to recalculation of annuities. We sent a memorandum to the chairman. I think you got a copy. It was dated September 20th. in regards to that issue.
Okay, so I remember reading that memo now. I thought it was something else. So in that memo, it talked about errors as one of the points that you could use as an adjustment. So individuals in that communication with Ms. Moorhead and Ms. Christopher, they indicated that and it also talked about that contracts that were negotiated, even though the money came later, it should be adjusted. And I think that's what Mrs. Moorhead's comment was at that time. So where are we at with that? I didn't see an answer to that. I just saw you put out a memo on what the law says, but I was looking for a response.
We'll receive copies. We have already signed the letters, Ms. Moorhead and Ms. Christopher, and we indicated to them, we showed them exactly what occurred. And as far as we're concerned, they're not entitled to any adjustment. The letters are going out. We send copies to you.
Okay. It also said, well, I'm getting one of the letters a little confused. I was also read in the recent.
I don't want to be putting members' information on the record private.
No, I don't want to put it in the record as well, on the record, sorry. Okay, so the last item was the meeting you had with the delegate. That was at a conference, or was that at the GERS? That was on the 19th.
That's in regards to the delegate's request of GEO to prepare a study. I met with the NCPERS executive director. That was a Zoom meeting.
Okay, someone from the delegate's office was part of that meeting?
No.
Oh, so that was just the organization, and that was put together through the delegate's office. Is that what you're saying?
No, I guess GAO reached out to the national organization for their input. So they you know, we know these people. We have met with them and we have attended a conference. So they reached out to us to ask us what this was all about and ask us some questions, and we gave them some documentation, which are public documents, so they can do their due diligence.
So, Mr. Niv, did you consider, in your meeting, did you consider, I guess, one, having trustees attend, especially since Trustee Russell, listen what I'm saying, especially since Trustee Russell brought an official proposal on this particular issue in terms of helping us fund the system, and he was actually talking about having the delegate be part of the process to lead the way to the President of the United States, which our sitting governor has indicated when he spoke to us during the funding request of the current note. Whatever we can do as trustees, let's move forward, and he's on line with it. I mean, Mr. Trustee Russell's proposal was right in line, so it doesn't even sound like it was probably been considered in your meeting.
Different things. Number one, and I indicated we met with this group when we went to meet with the delegate in Washington, and we put on the table, we wanted them to join with us to go to Treasury to get a loan and all of that stuff to fund the system. They were not in alignment with us. Reason why is because, number one, we are public pension system. Congress have never funded public pension systems. That's a state authority, state taxing authority. So I can introduce the policy committee chair to Hank Kim, and but that meeting was not for that. It was on the spur of the moment, and we discussed it for like 30 minutes.
Okay, I just mentioned it because I saw it on the agenda, and then I didn't speak to Trustee Russell about it, but I said I'd just bring it up today. But it just seems like nothing else seems to be working. We had a motion today to try to get some funding for the system that is sitting there for us to get. Obviously, that'd have to come from a third party, in this case, the plan sponsor himself, if someone's listening. And Trustee Russell's proposal, it hasn't even come up on the agenda to be considered. It's not a true cost to the system per se. It's within our spending limits. and it hasn't been even considered. I'm not sure why it hasn't been considered, but if you're going to have this type of meeting and you're talking to the delegate, then it'd have been nice if, since Trustee Russell mentioned that, through the delegate, and the sitting governor indicated when the question was raised by Trustee Russell at that time, that he's on board with it. So I'm not sure what's really going on with that. But
well,
thanks again.
We're not speaking with the delegate. Last time I spoke with the delegate was maybe 3 years ago in regards to funding. So this is a GAO study which was requested by the delegate through GAO. So GAO, the government accountability office, is doing a study based on the delegate's request. I don't know what
I understand the study, Mr. Nibbs. I was only indicating that officially Trustee Russell gave a proposal to the board, right, to help fund this system. That's a viable proposal. And I'm just saying, if we're speaking about funding, his proposal hasn't even come on the agenda to be discussed for whatever reason. And it's a viable proposal. So this would have been another way to probably get it in. That's all I was saying. Thank you, though. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Make a motion.
You're done, Mr. Nibbs?
Yes, I hope I responded to Trustee Dorsey's question. But,
okay, so next on the agenda is committee reports. And I have a report from the budget committee, which I circulated. I hope everybody got a copy. I'll just read it into the record briefly, quickly. It says that the budget committee convened via Zoom at 10 a.m. September 20, 2022 to consider the proposed FY 2023 budget for the administration of the system. The committee members present were Trustees Bowie, Chair, Corwood, Smith, and Liger. Staff present were Administrator Nibb, Chief Operating Officer Clendenin Gums, Chief Financial Officer Jeremy. After due consideration, the committee voted to recommend board approval FY 23 expenditure budget for the administration of the system as follows. Personal services, $5,344,000. Fringe benefits, $2,219,000. A total personnel cost of $7,563,000. Supplies, $513,000. Services and charges, $6,696,000. Utilities, $635,000. For a total operating expenditure budget of $15.4 million. $193,000 was budgeted for capital outlay for a grant of $50,600,000. This proposed $15.6 million budget comprises $15.4 million for operating expenditure and $193,000 for capital outlay. In total, it is $348,000 less than the FY22 budget and $584,000 less than FY21 budget. Importantly, it is consistent with the $15.6 million that was assumed in the cash flow projection for the GRS funding note. $7.6 million personnel cost, which includes employee compensation and fringe benefits, accounts for almost half of the budget. It provides funding for 75 employees, 28 exempt and 47 classified, and accommodates all negotiated salary increases for unionized employees, as well as increases for non-union employees. The budget as proposed brings all union contracts current. Next biggest line item of $6.7 million for services and charges represents 43% of the budget. Almost all of that is for a wide variety of professional services primarily legal, financial, audit, medical consulting, and transcription services. The balance of the operating budget, $655,000 for supplies and $635,000 for utilities, was considered to be reasonable by the committee. The budget was approved on an interim basis, understanding that it would be to accommodate the upgrade to the system's backbone computer system. Current version is several upgrades behind and is in danger of losing critical technical support from the vendor. Because of its substantial costs, estimated upward of $5.5 million, the committee requested further refinement of the project, its cost, its implementation timetable, at which time the budget will have to be revisited and most likely revised. The committee considers this upgrade to be a strategic imperative. The committee expects to receive the FY 2023 proposed budget for the Havenside Mall for its consideration in October. The mall's FY 22 budget is deemed to be carried over to FY 23 until then. The committee would like to acknowledge the participation and the input from the senior management staff that were outlined above. That's the end of the report. Of course, we'll be spending some more time on later on in the budget when we talk about the approval of the budget. That ends the report.
I have a question, Chair.
Yes.
What was the date of the meeting?
Meeting date was September 20th, 2 days ago.
Oh, I didn't get any notification.
Okay.
So was something sent out?
Yeah, it was sent out.
Oh, I didn't get any notification, so I can't speak on it. Mr. Nibbs, can you?
We have the budget. The budget is on the agenda later down for board approval.
Okay.
So I have the opportunity to ask a question.
Okay then.
Okay. So here now the report will committee reports will go to the treasurer's report.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a short report, okay?
Mr. Jeremiah, muted.
Wait, Mr.
You and committee reports, right?
Okay, I think we had more. I didn't hear any.
No, I was mute. So I had to unmute.
Okay, so you have a report from which committee?
Policy committee. We met yesterday, and we couldn't move forward with the meeting. And I want to state that we have to have a legal opinion resolving the issue that came up yesterday. And the issue is whether or not when 4 members meet, what occurs, can the committee meeting go forward without proper notice to the public? And Attorney Williams and Attorney Smith had a difference of opinion there, and we would like some type of legal opinion issued when we have these committee meetings. I postponed the committee meeting, which was dealing with a very serious issue, the medical policy, and we'll have it shortly once we get some kind of consensus on how to proceed with committee meetings when a lot of members showed up. And let me thank the members for showing up: Carlwood, Smith, Dorsey, and myself, and staff was there. So we wasted a time frame that everybody could attend, and I was sorry about that. But we postponed the meeting simply because there is a pending legal issue that needs to be resolved, and we'll reschedule that meeting accordingly when we get a legal opinion. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so may I ask briefly what was the issue? Briefly.
Yeah, sure. The issue was whether we could proceed with a meeting with 4 members, because the issue is if you have 4 members at a meeting, then it constitutes a quorum, and that would suggest that you're holding a meeting for the board. And that issue came up. Mr. Nibs chimed in, Ms. Smith chimed in, everybody chimed in. But at the end of the day, we want to get some consensus how to move forward with these committee meetings when, for example, if everybody showed up at the meeting yesterday, policy meeting to deal with the medical issue, the policy, would it constitute a board meeting? And then all we were doing was making a recommendation to the board, but there was a difference of opinion legally what constitutes a meeting for the board. And Pedro, if you want to chime in, or Kathy, you could chime in, because you could give the public and Mr. Bory, you know, a better understanding of the issue that we faced yesterday.
Okay, make it clear.
Yeah, yesterday we called it at 4:30. Everybody was on time, and we ended about 5:05. Okay. Thank you.
So you didn't keep the meeting?
No, we couldn't. I all on the kind of side of caution, because we were going to. Another issue that came up is whether or not in these committee meetings the public should be apprised or be involved. And there is an issue whether or not when you're discussing policy, whether the public should be a part of it when you open discussion, and when you come up with your recommendation and you put the recommendation to the full board, then the public could be involved. It's how do you include the public at committee meetings also came up. So it was an important issue to be decided. I'm sure that in your budget meeting or whatever, you didn't confront that issue, but we confronted it at the policy meeting, and I would like to get legal counsel to resolve it for us so we could move forward. Okay?
Okay. Not sure I understand what the issue is, but
the issue is that does 4 members meeting constitute a board meeting?
Oh, okay.
It's simple.
Okay, even if it can, we're just saying that we may characterize it as a committee meeting, but
exactly,
legally it's a board meeting.
Yeah, because the amount of members appears to have made a big difference in how we approach these meetings. 4 members meeting.
So that means,
yeah.
That would mean that the only way to have a committee meeting that does not constitute a board meeting is to have the committee to be less than a quorum?
Or you just announce every committee meeting to the public, and you could I could announce that meeting to the public and say, if you want to participate in the policy meeting, fine, and just host it with as much members as want to attend, or change each committee to be 3 members, and then it will solve the problem. But we need to discuss it, and we need to solve it so that proceeding forward, we don't have that conflict like what happened yesterday with my meeting.
Trustee Russell. Hello, Trustee Russell.
I'm here. Yeah.
Now, couldn't you have had the meeting, start the meeting, and then go into executive session if you didn't want the public to be involved?
It was unclear.
Huh?
No, okay. Do the executive session apply to a committee meeting which dealing with policy? And that was an issue, Mr. Liger, that was uncertain. To go into executive session, you have to have specific criteria. And usually you read it, you know, you're dealing with certain matters, and you just don't go into executive session based. My view was an executive session wouldn't apply to what we were going to discuss in the policy meeting about our policy about the medical procedure for the board. I didn't think that we would have qualified to go into any executive session for that. But you know, I would stand corrected if the legal counsel give a view of it. But I didn't think we could do it with discussing simple policies and simple revising a document like that. Not trade secrets or not personal information. You know, I don't think it qualified. That's my answer.
But in that case, then why?
Mr. Liger, it wasn't a board meeting for us to go into executive session. That was the problem.
No, you don't have to have a It
no,
was
I was
a board
telling
meeting.
You said why we didn't go into executive session, but it was not a board meeting for us to go into executive session.
No. But listen. If you have 4 members, it constitutes a board meeting. And if this is the case, and you have matters to discuss that you feel the public should not be purview to, you can go into executive session because it's a board meeting. It constitutes a board meeting if you have a quorum.
Yeah, Mr. Liger, the problem would be notice. I didn't notice that meeting.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't notice that meeting, and I think we could solve it. You know, we just get the legal opinion and we could solve it. I don't think it will create a problem moving forward, but it was good that it was brought up and we discussed it. Member Carlwood and Smith and Dorsey all chimed in. So we have an issue that the legal counsel could resolve. So moving forward, these committee meetings could be set straight, you know?
You indicated, Trustee Russell, that we had 2 different opinions between our counsel.
Yeah.
So that would suggest that we need to get an independent, an outside counsel, a different counsel.
I think we could do that. I think it might be better. But, you know, I would like to see if they could resolve that issue as to the Sunshine Act and what, you know, how we could. I was going to suggest any committee meeting, just publish it. And as many board members show up and let's move forward. That was my solution, because I ain't got nothing to hide in the public or so. And some of these committee meetings just discussing policy. If we discussing policy, let the public know, give the notice, and let's have the meeting. That was I didn't tell the team that, but that was my solution. And if we need, you know, I think we need a legal counsel opinion. I think the two legal counsels should attempt to resolve it. And if they can't resolve it, then we get outside opinion. That's my view, Mr. Chair.
Let me just say this. As long as the councils could prove their point to show where the law supports the opinion, that's all we need. We don't have to go outside to find somebody else. If Attorney Pedro Williams can prove his point with law to support it, that's all we need.
But I'm just reacting to the comment that was made that there were different opinions. I mean, we know the reason why there's a Supreme Court is because attorneys disagree all the time.
Of course. Yeah.
It's on the same,
2 different interpretations.
It's on the same set of facts and the same law.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if I know,
but Attorney Williams is there, right?
But he hasn't done anything.
Chair?
Yes.
Hello?
I'm here.
Hello, Chair.
Yes.
Yeah. I was at the meeting. I basically brought up the point. I agree with Trustee Liger that, and I mentioned it yesterday, and it was mentioned already several times with Attorney Williams, that if 4 of us are there, it constitutes a meeting, whether it's policy meeting, budget meeting, investment meeting, it's a meeting. But I also indicated yesterday, like we do in this meeting, we can go into executive session, right? The thing that we were missing, one of the things at least, was publishing to the public, informing the public that we were having a committee meeting. As Trustee Russell indicated, there's nothing to hide, I agree, but it's just to do it the right way. However, we also learned the system has been doing it a particular way for the last 15 years. And all I said yesterday, that doesn't mean it was right for the last 15 years, right? But because Attorney Williams indicated early on, since I've been on the board, what constitutes a meeting, and I think we went over that in the orientation as well, that's always stuck in my mind. So there's been other things we probably have went over that constituted a meeting or didn't have a meeting properly, and it just moved forward. So I was just indicating in the meeting yesterday that we need to look at it. Now, I agree with you, Chair. We have 2 attorneys with 2 different positions, which came up yesterday. So your point is a valid point, that we get a 3rd attorney to look at it and render an opinion from there. I agree. Or an outside counsel to render that independent opinion. And as Trustee Ligert indicated, the law, our policies, I guess, and procedures would be what this outcome would come to. So with that being said, I don't mind making a motion on outside counsel to finalize it.
I don't think we should have any motion right now. What I think we should do is to hear from our counsel why he is making his point. Because if you go out, they would either go along with our counsel or go with Attorney Smith, and we would still have the conflict. So let us hear what Attorney Williams have to say.
I have one question before we go there, Trustee Liger. Based on what I've heard so far, would a proper notification of a committee meeting solve the problem?
Of course. That's all. That is all I believe Attorney Williams is saying.
Okay.
That's what I think he's saying.
So
if we are going to have a meeting and we'll have 4 trustees, it should be publicized. That's it.
And so.
But Mr. Bowery, it's not just publishing. It means the meeting is then open to the public.
Yeah.
And if you don't have one of those qualifications to go into executive session, which is limited, then your discussions of whatever the topic is open to the public. And when I spoke with the lawyer who did the governance training, he advises against the initial discussions when you're trying to set a policy be in open session. He's saying it should come to open session when it comes to the full board, but you should be able to have your candid discussions back and forth and everybody put their opinions, and you may be discussing in this case some issues that arose that may pertain to certain members in order to explain why you're, suggesting certain things.
Well, Mr. Chair,
we still are not allowing Attorney Williams, who we are paying to advise us, to tell us exactly why he's making his point.
Yeah, we get into him. I just thought that. Go ahead, Pedro. Pedro?
Looks like he died. I think we lost Pedro.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
You're calling for?
It's my understanding that the committee yesterday requested.
Not hearing you.
We can't hear you.
You're not hearing me?
I mean, you're gobbled.
No, I'm on my iPad. I'm not sure why I'm having this challenge. Is that better?
A little bit. No. So while we wait for Pedro,
can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Hello.
It was my understanding that the committee requested a written opinion on the.
You're breaking up, Pedro.
I'm not sure I know how to solve that problem or what I need to do.
Okay, keep.
That's better. That's better.
It was my understanding that the committee requested a written legal opinion, which we will prepare and provide to the members of the board. I'm not sure rehashing the issue here is going to solve it, but I think attorney or trustee Russell basically summarized what the issues are that we're prepared to address in a written legal opinion.
Okay, good.
I have one question for you, Pedro. Would a proper let's take the meeting yesterday. If that had been notified, publicly notified, if the public was notified, the 2 days or whatever, would that have solved the problem?
Yes, that would have been one option to solve the problem. Yes.
Okay.
The only issue that's not solved, Chairman Bowery, is the issue that Kathy raised. And that's a serious issue because I didn't want to proceed a non-meeting open to the public discussing particular cases. Because you set in policy and you could use particular cases to make examples to put your point across. And I had particular cases I want to reference, and I couldn't discuss that in that meeting with the public, So that issue that Kathy raised is still available.
But you could have gone to executive session.
Yeah.
Well, how would it go into executive session?
Yeah, good question.
Based on what
because if you haven't a meeting and an issue comes up that meets the qualification for executive session, then somebody can move to go into executive session. I mean, there was nothing based on the document that was circulated that would suggest a need to go into executive session. If Trustee Russell or somebody else wanted to discuss particular cases or members or individuals, then at that point of the meeting, based on a proper representation that it met the requirement to go into executive session, then an appropriate motion could have been made for that to happen. So there are ways to handle it.
Okay.
Now, I agree with Trustee Dorsey that we need to have a legal opinion along with Attorney Russell.
Yeah.
Yesterday was two different interpretations, and we still ain't gonna get it settled here today.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman Bowe, we need a legal opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
So moving forward.
So frame the question that we're gonna put to the council. The council.
He's already writing the memo.
So what? What was that?
No, I said, Mr. Chair, all of this was discussed, and I suggested yesterday that he writes a memo and Kathy writes a memo, and then bring it to the board. And if the board is not satisfied, they go for outside opinion.
Okay. Okay.
And then a meeting, I will call you after.
Yeah, I'll just say this, that we might get these two opinions and they still come in separate. It's just going to prolong the process.
And they will. They will.
We could just get to the point, get our outside third party counsel, and just get a point, get a position. We go from there.
Okay.
Attorney Russell, you want to form a motion? Trustee Russell?
Yeah, well, I'll go along with what Trustee Smith and you said, but I would prefer initially that Attorney Smith and Attorney Williams really trash that issue out. I don't think it is that difficult to resolve, and we could do it in-house, because and that's why we were I think Mr. Naves expressed it well, you know. I don't think we reached to that point for outside counsel yet. Let's deal with in-house, and then when we cross that bridge, if we have to cross that bridge of getting outside counsel.
Trustee Russell. You heard the two positions yesterday, Trustee Russell. They're not going to be any different. It's only going to be in writing.
Well, I would prefer that if they put it in writing, they may consider other alternatives that exist in the code and exist in our rules and regs, and it might influence them to change their minds. So I'll give them that opportunity.
Let's do this. Let's have the two councils submit the position, and if it's not resolved, then we'll figure out what the next step is.
Yes.
So can we do the motion, Chair?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
What do we expect an outside counsel would say that we would be willing to accept?
I don't know. I mean,
well,
what do we expect a judge to say when you take?
No, but the point I'm trying to make is either the outside counsel would go along with either one of the two.
Yes.
So
we'll commit.
Let us get an opinion from the Attorney General.
No.
If anything.
No.
When not gonna happen?
And it's not gonna happen soon. The Attorney General takes ages to go through this.
Yeah.
And the Attorney General.
Mr. Liger and members, listen. We have very competent counsel. They were talking to the committee directly, and I prefer that if they start to review the actual legalities of it in the code, in our rules and regs, in any written document that we have, I think they could resolve it. I really believe that.
Of course.
And so I would go along with what the chairman said. It's an issue that has to be resolved, because we have to have committee meetings, and in committee meetings we have to discuss issues that will carry us in an executive session. Sure, but let legal counsel appoint on it, and let's take it from there. I think we could move on, you know.
Trustee Russell, let me say this, right? You're just going to find out that, and I guess it's just the messenger in this case, you're just going to find out that it's been done wrong, Trustee Russell, and we're just trying to get it right. This is just what it is. It's been done wrong, so we're trying to get it right.
Okay. All right.
The motion, and Trustee Dorsey.
Okay.
My motion, hello? My motion is that we can do what the chair indicated. We can hear the two positions, see the two positions in writing. But if the two positions come back the same, opposing each other, then we go out and get a third counsel. That's to resolve our issue.
That's what I'm suggesting. I don't think we need a motion for that. I just need the included in the opinions on the council, I wanted to answer the question. One question I want answered is there any legal way, given the law, I guess given the law, that the board could hold a meeting
3 people.
with more than four, with a quorum present, and discuss
Can you repeat? I didn't hear you.
I didn't finish. I'm kind of stuck in my own thoughts.
Oh, your mouth was open. I'm sorry.
Let's
Mr. Borwi, we faced that with the legislature, and we call it a caucus meeting, and we didn't have to invite the public. And I tell you.
Well, I think Trustee Dorsey had a motion. I'll second a motion. How are we going to place with this thing today?
Okay.
And in addition to that, why have committee meetings if everything have to be a board meeting? So every committee meeting will have to be a board meeting.
Yeah.
So I don't see the sense in having committee meeting then.
Exactly. That is what's being challenged, Member Smith. Because you're merging committee meetings to board meetings, and that should not happen. So we need a legal opinion, Pedro, Attorney Williams and Attorney Smith, because it don't make sense that every board meeting got to merge into a committee. Every committee
board meeting.
Yeah, no, and Member Smith is right.
Trustee Russell, you're forgetting one thing, Trustee Russell. You just came from the Senate some years ago, and in the Senate, you had different committees.
Yeah.
And from those committees, you came to the full body to vote it up or down. I'm just saying that from my position being on this board this short time, and hearing from our council, 4 more people, it's a board meeting, right? We just have to get that right. Now, maybe we can change some things and say, okay, we'll still have a policy committee, a budget committee, board meeting, and we'll just be dealing with those topics at that time. We can do it similar. We can do it similar to how the Senate is set up on a rules committee, oversight, budget, government operations committee. We can look at it from that standpoint as well.
Let me ask a question. I don't know if I'm oversimplifying this. Could we solve this problem by advertising the committee meetings? Public notice? And if we have anything that we want that meets the criteria for executive session, we go into executive session?
I would say yes. I don't know what the council would say.
I mean that's kind of counter to what Kathy said. The consultant, whatever it is, advised that that you don't want to open up committee meetings for public. You want a situation where you could hold a meeting that on topics that not right for public view. I guess in which case the committee could go into executive session, I guess.
Well, Mr. Chair, without previewing what the opinion would say, in my opinion, you basically have 2 choices. One, the committee would be comprised of no more than 3 trustees, or you do what you just suggested. If it's 4 more trustees, then you have to comply with the requirements of the statute by giving notice, because then it will be a board meeting.
Suppose non-committee members show up.
Because then non-committee members can show up, but they don't have a vote. What you're looking at is voting members. If you have a policy committee of 3 voting members, only those 3 individuals could vote. All the trustees can show up, all the trustees can talk, but they can't vote. And the point is, if you have 4 or more members, they can make a decision that binds the agency. If you only have 3 members who could vote, that's not a quorum. So they cannot do the same thing. They can't bind the board. That's the distinction.
We could have a 3-member finance committee and 6 members attend, but only 3, as long as only the 3 members vote. Good?
Right, because they're the members of the committee. Only they have a right to vote in committee. Any member can show up, but they don't have a right to vote in a committee meeting.
And we could have full discussions, and we could go into executive session, and the committee could go into executive session.
That I will reserve on. My instinct would tell me as long as it meets the criteria of the law, most likely, but I've never researched that particular aspect of it, so I'm not going to give you, again, I'm kind of, getting ahead of myself, but my sense is there's got to be a way for a committee to go to some sort of executive session, but I will reserve on that issue.
Yeah,
okay.
But listen, Ms. Attorney Williams, the issue is whether a committee of the GRS system has to be made public, because
no, I don't think that's not the, I mean, that's technically not really the issue.
Why don't
it's not whether it's committee, you can have a committee.
Why don't you do this? Trustee Russell, why don't you craft the question to put to both Pedro and Kathy for them to opine on?
Okay. Okay.
And
the Attorney Williams, I don't know.
No, not now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean,
in writing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
And have them provide their opinion.
Yes. Okay. I will.
Okay. All right. We'll go from there.
Trustee Russell, share that
yeah,
question.
I'll share with everybody.
Yeah. So we can get it right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll share with everybody. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So where were we on the agenda? I lost track.
Treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report.
Okay. Good morning.
I think we understood from yesterday's discussion.
Please move on from that now.
I didn't
Petra,
hear.
we can't hear you.
Go ahead, Ms. Jaimon.
Okay, this is the Treasurer's report for the Government Employees Retirement System for the month ending August 31st, 2022. Our total collection for the month was 14,327,764, consisting of employer contribution of 8,742,499, employee contributions of 4,699,564. Our year-to-date collections is 244,610,873. Disbursements total 25,915,900. Year-to-date 268,581,551, of which annuity payments in the month of August was 194,271.
Hello.
Somebody need to, that's not Trustee Wesley, you need to mute your mic.
Administrative expenses was 1,711,770, and a refund of contributions 1,988,501, and we have a net cash deficit for the month of August of 11,588,136. Year-to-date cash deficit of 23,970,679. Our fiscal year 21 compared to 22 comparative for the loan repayments, you can see in fiscal 2022, we collected thus far posted on a V3 system 8.6 million. In fiscal 2021, around the same time, it was 13 million. So our loan is reducing. Our loan portfolio is reducing. Our year-to-date withdrawal from the portfolio is 120 million. This is as of August 31st, 2022. Moving on to our Haven side. For Haven side, our total collections for the month of August is 471,341. Year-to-date, 3,365,147. Our expenses were 122,158. Year-to-date, 2,408,903. We have a net cash surplus of 349,183. Year-to-date, cash surplus is 956,244. So our year-to-date Haven site mall expenses were 71% of the budget for the month of August, up to the month of August. There ends the reading of the Treasurer's report, Board Chair.
Any questions on that? Okay.
I had a question. Yeah, I have a question. I have a question for Ms. Jeremiah. Ms. Jeremiah, can you go back up to what we had drawn down, the 120 million for the year from our fund? So as of August, we drawn down 120. So we would be including the first payment with that amount to which covered the annuity payment so far. The payment from the note, sorry, 89 million.
Remember, if you look at the top, this is the 89 million that is included here.
Mm-hmm.
It went to State Street. It went to the investment bank. So it didn't come into the GRS coffers.
Oh, I got you.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to get the 158 where the 89 is now. And so that's going to increase by 158, right?
Correct.
Okay. But that's going to State Street. So we're still going to be drawn down from where we're at with our cash position, basically.
Correct.
Are we still at 15 million a month, or where we at?
It's averaging 15 million every other month. It's not every month.
Every other month. Okay. Okay. Is the gap getting smaller?
It's just about the same.
The same, yeah.
We are collecting the same amount. There's nothing changed in our collections.
Okay, so, okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'll make a motion to approve the Treasurer's report.
Second.
Moved and seconded, roll call.
Trustee Calwood,
Yes.
trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
trustee Liger, trustee Liger,
Yes.
trustee McDonald, absent, trustee Russell, trustee Russell,
Yes.
absent.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Point of information, Chairman.
Yes.
What's this? What happens to the motion that was made that got the second a few minutes ago? What happens to that at this point?
Which motion is that now?
The motion I made that was seconded by Trustee Smith. What happens to that motion at this point?
Which motion is that? Repeat it. Which
The
motion?
motion, that was a motion in reference to having the two councils come up with their position, which you had stated. And then depending on where they at, if they're still on different sides, then we would go forward with outside counsel. So we got a second.
Okay,
Now I was asking you what happens to it because you didn't do anything else. You went on to something else.
oh, I think we agreed that Trustee Wilson was gonna draft the question to propose to the two councilors, Pedro and Kathy, to resolve the issue that we had. I guess.
That is correct what you're stating. I was just asking what happens to the motion. Is there some other administrative process we're supposed to do or you should have done? I don't know.
I don't know. I guess.
My sense is
Ask
the
counsel.
chairman basically indicated that was a consensus, so there was no need for a motion. Nobody objected and said, well, I still think we need to have a vote. So, I mean, one of two things could happen. Either you accept that or you could withdraw the motion.
Okay, then I withdraw the motion then. I was just trying to figure it out. Thanks again.
Okay.
All right.
Investment officer's report.
Did that already?
We had that report.
Did that already?
Okay, that's the one we moved up. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so the next item is the approval of the contract. Mr. Nibbs?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so who's going to introduce that?
It's on the screen. It's just a matter of, this has been before the board before. Nikita agreed to all the provisions in Exhibit B, which shows all the language was approved. The only problem was was the fee. And we proposed a fee, the board accepted it, and we sent it to Nikita, and they accepted it, as shown on the screen. One other issue was they wanted to set a fee for after August 31, 2025. We told them no. What we said is GRS would elect to extend the agreement for the subsequent term. The annual fee will be negotiated, and they accepted that. So we send this to the board to finally approve the entire contract.
Okay, so you're representing to the board that this contract represents the conditions and the requirements that we established.
That's correct.
And you're recommending approval.
Yes, correct. With the changes that were made, obviously.
Yeah. Any questions? Any comments from?
I have a comment, Chair. What Mr. Nibbs left out, and it was the reason why I voted against this extension, was Makita indicated they had 5 strategies that's supposed to be what we call insurance in the financial industry to protect the system's money. And they never fully presented that. I think that those 5 strategies, and now today he's talking about 2 or 3 strategies, and he's also indicated that it wouldn't be the representative today, but someone else within his company that would be presenting those strategies. But I think at least something should have been in here indicating that, unless I missed it in this document, something should have been in there.
I don't think so.
However, you guys already voted for this to go forward, but I'm just indicating that that was not part of it. It should have been part of it, because I'm not voting on something that I have no knowledge of. He's just making proposals to us. He mentioned it, he line item it in his agenda. He never went into detail. He was supposed to do it a second time. He still didn't do it, Makita, representative. And I asked again today. And now today he's saying it's going to be somebody else who's going to present it in a next meeting and sometime in the future. So I'm going to have the same position on it.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
Motion, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I move that we ratify or accept the 5th amendment to the investment consultant and advisory agreement between GRS and Makita Investment Group Incorporated. I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Trustee Corwood?
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey?
No.
Trustee Liger?
Yes.
Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Russell?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
6 yes, 6, 5 yes, I'm sorry. 1 no.
Okay.
1 absent.
Okay, motion carried. New business, date change for our board meeting. Who speaks to that?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I can speak to that. When we originally did the board calendar, it was not anticipated that all the trustees would be attending the IFEBP conference, but since they are, it falls on the date that the board meeting would be held. So the travel for IFEBP is October 20th to the 27th. So I'm requesting that we change the October board meeting so that trustees can attend. So it would be either October 19th, which is the week before, or October 28th or October 31st.
Ms. Coley, question.
Yes.
We can have the meeting in some place like where we go into the conference and just schedule it, let the participants, if they want to participate, members, retirees, Zoom and just do the meeting as you schedule it?
No, because most people would be traveling on the 27th.
Oh, okay. So you have to, yeah, okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the 28th or the 31st works for me.
So what that would entail people joining by Zoom from off island?
On the 28th?
No.
No.
So when they were traveling, they're traveling back? That was the end of the conference?
Yes. The conference begins on the 21st and ends on the afternoon of the 26th. So most people would be traveling on the 27th.
Okay. So the option is it 28th?
The 28th, 31st, or you can do it before the conference, which would be the 19th.
October 19th, can you probably be jet lagged?
Yeah.
for the 28th. So I will recommend that we go up to 19th. If everybody's available.
Yeah, I like the 19 too.
Yeah, if 19 for me.
Okay, so look, we have, I think, assuming the 19th works for me.
See a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I move that we reschedule a October regular board meeting of the GRS board to October 19th, 2022. I so move.
Second.
Second.
Trustee Smith. Trustee Colwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey. Trustee Dorsey.
Yes. Yes.
Trustee Liger.
Yes.
Trustee McDonald absent. Trustee Russell.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Chairman Barry.
Yes.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, so that was easy. Okay, so the next item is the approval of the GRS FY23 budget. So you guys, I read into the record the budget committee report. So if you have any questions or how you want to approach this.
Okay, I want to add to the budget the $30,000 for all trustees to travel to Washington, D.C. before the election to approach our delegate and the president's team to get this additional funding for GRS. I came up with a budget and I submitted a letter to everybody so you could see it. And so I want to just include that in the budget. It's a specific budgetary request and it will be included in the budget as you have it, but it's a line item for travel to DC.
Second.
So I make a motion to include that budget in this budget. And who second it?
I second it.
Okay, thank you.
So just to be clear, we'll fit it into the numbers that's here, right? We just
yes, exactly.
And how many people are we talking about?
8 people, the 6 trustees and 2 staff. Most likely, Mr. Nibs and Kathy Smith. The people that know. So, but everybody don't have to attend. But that budget includes everybody attending. It includes a 6-day plan for dealing with the delegate and whatever. The gentleman that Mr. Nibs identified, Kim, because we're not tapping into the federal government's budget. We're tapping into money that's owed to the Virgin Islands. And it's what I try, okay? So I want to include it. Just put it into the budget wherever you could fit it, Mr. Borri. Thank you.
We have a motion for that?
Before we move the motion, I have a question. Trustee Russell,
yeah.
You included, you said Mr. Nibs and Attorney Smith.
I included 2 staff members, and I would allow Mr. Nibs to choose that because he knows best. But we need staff, and I think we need staff to be supportive of the measures that we, who have an idea of, our financial woes going forward. So we need staff.
But would you agree that if we are going out like this, we may need counsel with us?
Kathy Smith is the counsel.
No, not Kathy Smith. Our counsel.
No problem. I didn't include. I included 8. We could add another member and revise the budget accordingly. But I did it for 8. All
you see, Attorney Russell. Sorry for cutting you, but a lot of decisions we as a board would be making, we need our counsel there to make sure decisions we make is the right decision. Because if he's not there and we make decisions and it's not the right decision, then how would he be able to defend us?
I mean, just not to be a thing, but I mean, if you're going to the delegate to talk to convince the president, what kind of decisions gonna we be making?
I don't know.
No,
okay.
only one decision, Mr. Liger, that we want the president to consider the executive order to return a portion of the gasoline excise tax to shore up the GRS, and for whatever reason the territory might need the money, most likely to move to renewable energy or something like that, some big ticket item. But we are promoting the GRS, shore up the system, and that's the only issue. We're trying to get people on board, Mr. Liger. We don't need a legal opinion. The only thing we might need is to apprise the president's team as to the deficit we have moving forward and how the gasoline excise could cover that deficit, you know, because it's a very straightforward presentation. They either want to approve it or they don't want to. And we could deal with, you know, the delegate, Mr. Kim. We could deal with the Department of Interior. We have Basil Atley there. We got people that we need to contact, and I think all of the board members should attend because everybody have a different way of saying things to persuade. Ms. Smith been in the board long, you've been on the board long. You guys are very persuasive. So I think, you know, we set up a strong team. I think it's worth our effort, and it's not a big budget item.
So you're saying we do not need counsel with us?
We don't have any legal issues to resolve. We have to promote our platform because it's straightforward. We're going to start to beg them to give us back the excise tax to shore up the system, and it's our money. The money is dissolving of the territory. It's just whether they will do it or not. You know, that's it.
Okay, but has this matter been
asking to the governor?
Huh? Somebody was saying something?
Go ahead, Mr. Liger.
All I was asking was has this matter been discussed and approved by the board?
He asking for that now.
No, that's why he's asking for now.
A motion was made.
So a motion
No,
was
he's
made,
not asking that.
Yeah.
That's
He
what
asking
he's
for the
asking.
money to support it.
Right.
Yeah.
Trustee Liger, the document was circulated sometime back. Trustee Russell, I guess you would have to circulate the document again. But it was circulated.
Because Trustee Dorsey, I heard you mention this morning, while the document was circulated, it has not come up on the agenda.
That is correct. That is correct. That's what I mentioned this morning.
So then, therefore, we need to first approve that idea before we could approve finance it.
I think Trustee Liger, by approving it as a budget item, you're in effect approving the idea.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other reason to include that in the budget if you're not in agreement with it. I don't think you need. I mean, I think one motion will cover it.
That's your opinion, sir. Okay.
Yeah,
Trustee Colwood,
No.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger,
I'm not voting on this.
not voting. Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Russell,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
No.
3 yes, 2 no, 1 not voting, 1 absent.
So the motion passed. Okay, good. Thank you very much.
So the motion passed?
Yeah.
Yes, because.
Yeah, three bigger than two.
Yeah.
So,
And I said thank you very much, and we're moving forward. We're going.
What next on agenda?
Executive budget.
Next item, okay, so we need to
approve the budget.
Approve the budget.
Yeah.
So,
we need to discuss. I make a motion to approve the budget as amended. I so move.
Second.
As submitted in the budget committee report?
Yes.
Okay.
Trustee Colwood,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger,
Yeah.
Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Russell,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to move into executive session.
Sure.
And this portion of the meeting will be closed to the public for matters pertaining to trade secrets or financial or commercial information or personal or legal matters or matters whose premature disclosure will frustrate the implementation of the proposed agency action.
Second.
I will second that,
Second
with the
already.
understanding.
It
Sorry?
was ready
Oh, okay.
by Colwood. Trustee Colwood,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger,
Yeah.
Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Russell,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, so we're to executive session.
Chairman Bory,
Yes.
Mr. Nibbs is gonna be part of this, right?
Chairman Ball, we could.
Can report out now.
Okay, so want to report out, Mr. News?
Only one thing.
Okay, so to report out in executive session, the board approved a contract extension for the position of, for Mr. Nibbs in the position of administrator CEO, for the GRS. Contract extends, the new contract will extend from October 1, 2022 to September 30th, 2023. That's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Trustee Colwood,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger,
Yes.
Trustee McDonald absent, Trustee Russell. Trustee Russell,
He left. He left.
Yeah.
absent. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent.
Thank you all. Thank you, everybody. Good meeting.
Good day, everybody. Goodbye. I'm gone.
Right.
Thanks for
Right.
participation.